ATL Day Ones. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Got Aaron Freeman with me today, filling in for my girl, Tanitra Batiste. She will be back tomorrow, so dry your tears, dry your eyes. I promise you, she will be back. And to my everydayers, you guys knew that she wasn't going to be here, so guess what? That means you need to come back tomorrow and drop that doggone I'm an everydayer in the comment box. We really appreciate you guys. We are pushing towards 9,000 subscribers. Yes, we're almost at 9,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed to Locked On Sports Atlanta, please do so. And if on the audio feed you haven't hit that subscribe button, like, what are you waiting on? Follow us so you can get that notification that every time a new episode drops. Now, Aaron, Jordan Love had a pretty doggone good game. But my question to you is, when you think about like who they went up against, right? I kind of had to put this thing in perspective. The Chicago Bears are an awfully run team, like just from a coaching standpoint. Like Ryan Poles, he may have a little savvy about him with the moves that he made on draft day and everything. And I know some Chicago Bears fans are still maybe starting to shed some tears after they seen Jalen Carter, play his first game. He out there doing his thing, getting it in, doing like he was supposed to do on the field. But I think that when you put it in perspective as to what Jordan Love was faced up against, right? Like, that defense isn't good. That offensive line for the Chicago Bears isn't good. And there wasn't any expectations of them being good. Now, they brought some guys in to try to fill some holes up front. But overall, no one was expecting the Chicago Bears offensive line to be that great. So with that being said, are you in a space where the Falcons' defense should be concerned that Jordan Love is coming to town?
Yeah, I think so. I'll say this. If we're talking about, am I buying the hype on Jordan Love? Yeah, I'll buy the hype on Jordan Love being Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Where you put him in an offensive system and it's kind of like point and click, go out there, make the throws that you need to make. He did that against the Chicago Bears. They schemed up a lot of throws, especially on third downs, where he was just kind of picking apart the Bears' zone defense. And I think we saw the Falcons in week one kind of sit back and hey, Bryce Young, if you can pick us apart, go ahead. And he couldn't do it, right? And if they play that style against the Packers, I don't think you're going to succeed doing that, because I think they've shown with Jordan Love's mastery of that offense, now being in there for 4 years, like he can go out there. He can do the things that we're sitting here thinking we want Desmond Ridder to do, to just go out there and execute the offense as Arthur Smith calls it up, right? So like I am thinking Jordan Love can be that type of player for the Packers, and I think showed that in week one. And I think that's going to be a challenge for the Falcons. I think they need to go out there and be much more aggressive on defense, because, as I said, like if they're just sitting back and just saying, hey, come out and beat us, like, I hope this is one of these games that really shows the difference between Dean Pease and Ryan Nielsen, where not Ryan Nielsen's going to be much more aggressive. Dean Pease was just content, like, hey, look,
we ain't got the talent. Yeah, this is what we're gonna do.
Eventually, you're gonna make a mistake, so we're just gonna let you dig and dug, and then when we get in the red zone, hopefully we'll get a stop. You get 3 points, and then we'll figure it out from there. I don't think you can play that style moving forward, and you have the talent that you can be more aggressive now with Ryan Nielsen. So that's what I'm hoping to see. But I think Jordan Love is good. I'm not going to sit here and crown him as Aaron Rodgers or anything like that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
But if you're looking for a Jimmy Garoppolo type of quarterback that is a competent quarterback that can operate the offense at a high level, I think Jordan Love has shown that he can do that based off of week one. And hopefully the Falcons, as they have done many times against a Jimmy Garoppolo in the last couple of years, even with Dean Pease playing the style of defense that he wanted to play, we have been able to disrupt that 49ers offense with Jimmy G under center. So I'm hopeful and optimistic that we'll do the same with Jordan Love.
Yeah, I agree, because here's the thing. Like, when it comes to like schemes and different, and what Ryan Nielsen wants to do, we know that he wants to be aggressive. We know that he wants to send guys from different levels, and we saw a little bit of that last week, specifically in the second half, when they started to make those necessary adjustments, and they started moving that defensive line around up front from stunts and all that stuff. They started moving guys around. It was a beautiful sight to see. So I think that it's just a matter of this defense getting off to a good start. And like you said, you talking about point and click type offense. like when you have a guy like that, when you have those system quarterbacks, because you seem like we've been using that word a lot more lately, because I mean, to be honest with you, it's hard to find guys that are just really good. You can just drop them in any system and they're going to be, 10, 15-year starters. Like, and those guys are hard to find. So when you have a guy like a Jordan Love, who nobody really believed in when the Packers drafted him, and Aaron Rodgers said, you know what? Oh, y'all gonna draft a quarterback to replace me? How about I'm gonna have a MVP season behind that? Yeah, how about that? Two of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, two of them. You know what I mean? So when you think about the levels, it's levels to this quarterback thing. That's why I tell people to kind of chill on Desmond Ridder, because like we don't know what he is. Like, we understand that the Falcons at least think that he can point and click, for right now. And then once you start to get into that development phase, as far as like learning the offense more, get more comfortable in the scheme, learning actually what you do like within that scheme, and then the coach making those necessary adjustments and calling those plays for you, because you know what to look for in the first read if it's not there, or in the second read if that first read is not there, or where's my check down, or do I always want to go to my check down, or am I looking for a Drake London or a Kyle Pitts, when I'm trying to push the ball down the field. So I think that the Falcons defense really, is going to have to get off to a good start, from the beginning. I think they're going to establish themselves in the beginning, just like they did with the Carolina Panthers when they stopped them on 4th and 1. I was like, okay, this is something that, I like. This is what I like to see. Like, when you have your defense establish themselves, and I think they're going to have to get Jordan Love in a space where he's not comfortable, because he was very comfortable last week to the tune of 38 points against Chicago Bears. So I think when you get to a space where Nielsen is putting that pressure on him, I think the Falcons defense should be in a good space. Now, as far as on the other side of that, right, we talking about Desmond Ridder. We talked about what Ridder is, last week, right? The offensive line has to get better. We talked about that in the first segment. And with him having to get better, like, what does that look like for him? What do you think that looks like for him, as far as, okay, here we are in a space where this offensive line was a little bit shaky. There's some guys that we can kind of scheme around, and Caleb McGarry, we kind of used to that. Man, it seems like we just going in on Caleb McGarry today, but sorry, Caleb. But we're trying to make a point here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So is there, we listed out all the names earlier on about what they're going to be faced up against with Devontae Wyatt, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, all of those guys. Joe Barry is going to be able to throw a lot of, bodies at this offensive line. How do you think that Arthur Smith attacks that in week 2?
Well, main thing Arthur Smith gonna do, he's gonna run the football, right?
He's gonna run the ball.
I'm gonna punch you in the mouth with the run game,
absolutely,
right? Yeah. And if they can do that and get into some 3rd and shorts, because that was a big problem last week, where they got in a lot of 3rd and longs, and that is not what this offense wants to be. Nope. So they need to get in some 3rd and manageables, and if they can do that, I feel confident that they can be able to be much more effective on 3rd downs, move the chains, and I think Desmond Ridder can operate the ways that he needs to operate. So even though I don't think Ridder played particularly well, even though as you mentioned, the passer rating is like 2nd in the league, and it's like, didn't look like that.
Right. It didn't look like that. It didn't look like that in the Mercedes-Benz. Like, that looked totally different. I'm like, wait a minute, where you get that number from?
Numbers are lying a little bit there.
Right.
With that, when you're just basically throwing it behind the line of scrimmage. Yeah, of course you're going to complete 80% of your passes, or whatever the number was. But
that's how I roll.
I think Desmond Ridder can do it. We just need to see it this week. But as you said, it starts up front. You got to control the line of scrimmage much better than they did last week. And if you can do that, then you will see the Arthur Smith offense come back to what we are accustomed to. A lot of runs, getting on 3rd downs. And we've seen this consistently with Desmond Ridder, right? He's been able to be successful on 3rd downs pretty consistently in what little action he's gotten going back to last year. So I think if they can do that, then they should be fine.
Yeah. I think that, and And on top of that, too, I really feel like that having Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson in the game at the same time, that's going to work out to their advantage, like going forward, especially if Tyler Algier has continues to play like he did last week. Because, and I don't know about you, I wasn't surprised by that. I mean, there were some people who were like, "Whoa, wait a minute, who is this guy?" Like, yeah, that's the guy that ran for 1,000 yards last year.
He was doing that every week for like the last 2 games last year. So.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, this dude has been on a nice little run, a little streak as of late. So I think that if they're able to get those guys on the field at the same time, and can we just get Drake London involved, get him involved early, because he seemed like he was a little out of it, And I don't know about you, but it just seems like, all right, man. Like, I'm not saying you got to feed the man, 12 to 13 targets or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that, but get the man involved so he can kind of get this off, because I want to see all this offense working, clicking on all cylinders. I would love for them to get that done this week. Being able to get the ball to Kyle Pitts, get the ball to Drake London, and then work that two backs system and getting those guys touches as well, whether it be handing it off to them or throwing it to them out of the backfield. I think Arthur Smith has a lot of toys that he wants to play with. I think, like you said, but it starts up front as to whether or not he's going to be able to feed all those guys at one time. Yeah. My everydayers, I want to say thank you for rocking with ATL Day Ones. Really appreciate you guys. If you haven't, subscribed or like our YouTube channel, what are you waiting on? I need you guys to go ahead and do that. Just for me. If you don't want to do it for anybody else, do it for me, please. Or do it for Tanisha. If you, I know y'all rocking with Tanisha, Yeah, go ahead and like and subscribe.
That's going to get you a lot more.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying to do, man. We're trying to get to 9,000, man, and then eventually 10. We're trying to get to 10 before the Falcons are 7-3. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, did I throw that out there? Yeah, I'm just tripping today. I'm feeling real good about myself. But so yeah, all my everydayers, we really appreciate you, and we thank you for rocking with ATL Day One.